Alrighty, friends. PSA graded return number 8 of 15. We are officially over the hill, meaning we are more than 50% of the way done, but still tons of Pokemon cards to take a look at, and more importantly, still some truly amazing Pokemon cards. Plus, we're getting closer to the EX era, which, as you all know, is always a good thing. But without further ado, let's get into it. But first, roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, PSA graded return number 8. At this point, if you don't know, you don't know, but links down below to the original Mail Day video, to the PSA graded return playlist, where you can check out tons of PSA graded returns, and more importantly, links to a few of the PSA graded returns specifically related to this return of 287 Pokemon trading cards. So that is about that. Like I always say, if you like today's video, I hope you will consider liking the actual video. It helps me in the YouTube algorithm. More importantly, I hope you will consider subscribing if you are not already, to join the Gengar Gang and our happy little community here. But without further ado, let us begin. First things first, a Sabrina's Gengar. So a really pretty card. A PSA 5, so, you know, not the most outstanding, but let's be fair here. I was probably playing a losing game with this card anyway, given the sheer amount of holographic that was originally in this card. Now, here's something many people don't know. The reason this card is very peculiar is because a lot of people don't realize that the Japanese version of this card had tombstones lined in the back, and those tombstones had what I believe to be either crosses or crucifixes on them. So they edited that out for the English version of this card, which is why it looks so weird, because if you notice, Gengar is all the way on this side of the card, and there's really nothing here, although it looks like there should be. Well, there was, but it's just censored. So this is one of those cards that its English translation was a bit altered. Now this got a PSA 5. Obviously, if I flip it around on back, the back's not much better looking either, but I am happy to add this one to the collection. I think it'll be a really nice card to just sort of have and just say like, hey, here's another Gengar for my Gengar collection. Next up is a Dark Porygon. This is from Neo Destiny, a very popular and fan favorite set. Probably not one of the fan favorite holographic cards. It did get a PSA 7 and it does have a swirl though, so I think it's a really cool card. Definitely something I hope someone out there will appreciate. Now, what's interesting is that I believe those two cards are the tail end of the Expedition box set. So here we have some more Expedition cards. Here's a Venusaur, one of the few times a Pokeball makes an appearance in a Pokemon card that is in fact a Pokemon and not a trainer card or something of the sort. So here's a PSA 6 reverse foil. I wonder what got this. Oh, okay. It looks like the entire top was like graded with like a cheese grater, so that's fine. Hey, most important thing, it's a cool card. Here is a Rapidash, another excellent Mint 6. What's interesting is that in this particular set of cards, we've seen very high grades for reverse foils and very low grades for reverse foils. So it's almost a very interesting comparison. Here is a Clefable, a PSA 6. So we've already seen the holographic version in a previous video. Here is the reverse foil version, and the one thing I mentioned is the VMAX Umbreon. It's very similar in the way that it's kind of staged with like a town and the full moon. It's, you know, it's very, I think it's a really cool card. But more importantly, I'm almost curious if Pokemon artists can use other cards for inspiration, or if they're instructed not to, or if it's like, you know, I'm curious what that whole conversation is when artists and illustrators start getting, you know, consistent work with the Pokemon Company illustrating Pokemon cards. Here's a Pidgeot. This has always been one of my favorite standout cards from the Expedition set, and that's primarily because it's such a distinct card. It's very red, and Pidgeot, by the way, is not that color. It's almost like a red light is casting on him, and by the way, this sky is also red, so this is a cool card because this is a really dope story, and I'm sure there's an interesting story as to why he's red. We never get that story, but I still think a fire card nonetheless, and a PSA 7. So not the highest grade, but certainly interesting. Here is another one of my favorite expedition cards, Meganium. The reason I like Meganium, just really pretty card. I love grass type Pokemon because they usually contrast very well on the card, and this is just another excellent example of that. I also think Meganium is a very pretty Pokemon because of the red, I call it hibiscus flower around its neck. So I think that also adds like a very nice splash of color that many Pokemon oftentimes tend to miss. So I think it was a very well done Pokemon from a design perspective. Here is a baby Pokemon. So in case anyone is curious, yes, this card is actually a baby Pokemon that counts as a basic Pokemon. There were quite a few of these released right around this time. There was the Cleffa, there was the Magby, etc., etc. And obviously they did it a lot of justice because not only is it a rare card, it is a holographic rare card as well. And it does evolve into Magmar, even though Magmar is also many times considered a basic Pokemon. So interestingly enough, here is another Expedition Kingler. This one is a PSA 5, so again, a really nice card. Nothing, crazy outstanding about this card, but I have said, and I do have quite a few of these at this point, but I have said Kingler is just one of my favorite Pokemon. I think it's because Ash had a Krabby, so yeah, I just really like the card. Here is a Expedition Charizard, another one. This one graded a PSA 6, so a really pretty card. Something that I really like about this card is that it's a very different look at Charizard, which I had mentioned a little earlier. One thing I will also note is that there is a significant amount of gray on this card. So if you notice, that text is shockingly lighter than the text of a similar card, and you can really see that comparison there. I'm curious if that helps with the grade. One could consider this something short of an error card, mainly because, it just doesn't have, it's almost like a gray stamp, if you will, but the entire inking is gray. So that's actually pretty neat. I didn't realize that was a thing. Here is an Ampharos, a Expedition PSA 5. Another interesting look at it. It looks almost like a little cat, but it's also kind of funny because it looks very squished together. So interesting little observation there. Next up on the list is a Alakazam. This is a reverse foil, and what I've noticed, for one reason or the other, is that Alakazam is, weirdly enough, number one in a set, at least in 2 different instances, base set and then base set expedition. So I don't quite understand why that is. I assume it likely has to do with the fact that back then rare holographic cards would be in the front of the set, and so Alakazam just alphabetically would probably fit there. So I think that is primarily the reason why that is, but let me know down below if you know anything else about why Alakazam appears to be number one twice when Alakazam has never really had a entire set like sort of themed on it, from the perspective of base and expeditions certainly are not themed after Alakazam. Here is speaking of which, base set number 2, Venusaur. So base set 2, what is that all about? Well, if you are a fan, you would, probably recognize this card as being, Venusaur from base set. However, what many people don't realize is that there is in fact a base set 2, which is effectively just a reprint set. It looked to reprint a bunch of cards from Jungle Fossil base and kind of throw them all together. The reason it's base set 2 as opposed to the original, because the cards look basically identical, is the set symbol, which you can see here. Base set does not have a set symbol, but every set after that, in one way, shape, or form will. And as you can see, this base set 2 symbol is a Pokeball with the number 2 basically written behind it in like a fun Pokemon script. So that is how you tell the difference between base set and base set 2. And yeah, here is a Venusaur from that set. You can see tons of scratches on it, which is why I got the grade that it did. But a nice little, add-in / pickup, something a little spicy there. Here, for comparison, is a base set Clefairy, right? So 1999 Pokemon game, this is exactly what you think it is. Notice the lack of a set symbol there, and so this is how you know this is from the original. If it didn't have this darker shadow in the corner, it would be considered a shadowless card, and if it had no shadow plus a first edition stamp, that is how you know it is a first edition base set Clefairy or whatever card it is. Next up is a Blastoise Psa5, so that's pretty neat. Just, another random card. Not necessarily grouped together with some that you might have seen previously. Here's a 4 of the exact same card. I believe these were from a completely separate, different lot of cards that I had purchased, so that's why I kind of lumped them all together so that on the back end it would be easier for me to kind of follow up on this stuff. And I believe here's where we hit the end of the Expedition train, and that is realistically just with this number 147, which is probably, you know, out of 165, pretty far along in the list. Here is a Power Charge. I got a Mint 9. Really looks good, so kind of surprised I didn't get the 10, but I mean, hey, I'm sure there's something there we might not be seeing. Second to last is a Mint 9 Squirtle reverse foil card. As many of you know, if you've watched the other videos, I've had quite a bit of luck getting the starter Pokemon to be PSA 10s in Expedition reverse foil, but apparently my luck has run out, but not to be underdone by probably one of my favorite cards out of the Expedition artwork, and that's another really pretty Ponyta. I think I wish Ponyta had more, frankly, and Rapidash both had a little bit more sort of presence in the TCG. You know, and now we have like the Galarian Rapidash and Ponyta, which is fine, but I think the original fire version of the Pokemon is not to be understated either. It's a beautiful Pokemon, it's a beautiful Pokemon card, beautiful illustration, and for once you have a fire type Pokemon that has a lot of contrast. You have some purple in the mountains in the back, you got blue on top, green down below, the Pokemon itself is red. I think there's a lot to appreciate about a card like this, and of course, chief among those things, a PSA 10, no less. Let's flip this over on the back and see if there's anything weird or wonky. Yeah, for the most part, I mean, hey, PSA has done a pretty good job of grading consistently, at least in my particular submission. And again, the things I have found tend to be something that I think, at least based on my non-expert opinion as a non-grader, would be something left to eye appeal. So, you know, a decision of that sort where it's like, hey, you know, not a big deal if you grade this a PSA 10, because honestly, the defect that we're seeing isn't something that takes away from the overall presence and condition of the card. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like on the video, and hey, if you're already liking the content, feel free to subscribe and join the Gengar Gang, and to help grow our happy little community. But other than that, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I appreciate your viewership as always, and we will talk soon. Peace.